Hello, this is the Ramblings of an Undisciplined Mind podcast for Monday, May 9th, 2016. Today I thought I would talk about the next little section in Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And speaking of being effective, I need to point out that Sierra's still missing, as far as I know. All right, so we're done with, we finished habit 3 on Saturday, and that kind of finishes the part that is the private victory. That's getting your house in order so that you can then move on to the habits that are going to be able to give you public victory. Working on dealing with the stuff when you're dealing with other people and other things. And as kind of a little pause in between, he's got this little section as we get into the public victory part called Paradigms of Independence. One of the things he points out right at the very beginning that what he's trying to get you to work towards is interdependence. That people are dependent on you and you are dependent on people, and you're being effective in that gear cog kind of relationship. And he says the thing you have to remember is that in order to be effectively have effective interdependence between you and others, first we have to have true independence. And that doesn't mean, I can stand on my own. No, it means that you've mastered habits 1, 2, and 3, so that you are independent in the sense that you're not leaning on other people. You have a clear mission. You have a clear vision. You know where you're going. You know how you're going to get there. And so you're independent in that sense. And then you can truly be interdependent with other people. So he sees this as a very dramatic and very fundamental paradigm shift here. He talked about personality techniques of that were popular like in the 50s and 60s. It's like you can do that, but you're just kind of there. You're changing the surface. You're not getting down to the root, and that's what he thinks is really important. He says real self-respect comes from dominion over self, from true independence. And that's the focus of the first 3 habits. Independence is an achievement. Interdependence is a choice only independent people can make. And one of the main ways he talks about in this little section that a independent person can start to build interdependence is through what he calls the emotional bank account. It's a metaphor that describes the amount of trust that's built up in a relationship between you and your spouse, you and your kids, you and coworkers, or what have you. So deposits in the emotional bank account are when you do things with courtesy, kindness, honesty, keeping of commitments. Those are deposits into the emotional bank account. And if you do enough of that, you're building up a bit of reserve, and people's trust in you becomes higher. And then we got kind of the flip side of if I show discourtesy, if I show disrespect, if I'm cutting you off, if I'm overreacting, if I'm ignoring you, if I betray your trust or threaten you, or manipulating you, doing things like that, then you're withdrawing from the emotional bank account, and ultimately you could become overdrawn if we stick with the metaphor here. And trust levels get very, very low. So he talks about really in order to be able to work effectively with people, and especially in a situation where you're trying to manage people, dealing with, he uses a couple of examples where he's trying to manage his kids a little bit, get them to understand, the importance of doing chores, but at the same time, not have to you know, be the little dictator stamping his foot saying, go clean your room. Um, so he talks about how he has to be making deposits all the time. So that when it comes to that important point of, okay, now you need to go clean your room, they've got the trust there in the relationship that they're not just going to, roll their eyes and give you the teenager look, as we called it when our daughter was a teenager, and go, yeah, Dad, all right, whatever, I'll get to it, kind of thing. So he says there are 6 major deposits that we can put into the emotional bank account. So we'll talk about those. I'll talk about those real quick. First one is understanding the individual. You got to understand the person you're dealing with. And this affects the other deposits. If you are trying to be understanding, if you are trying to understand what is important to that other person, and let them see that that is important to you, then that's going to build up trust. He told a really cool story of, he had a friend whose son loved baseball, and but the friend didn't really care about baseball at all. But he took his son to see every major league play a game one summer. So they saw every single major league team play over the course of a single summer. Did a lot of traveling. It took 6 weeks, and it wasn't cheap. But it really bonded them closely. And this friend was asked when he returns, do you like baseball that much? And he responded, no, I don't, but I like my son that much. And that's kind of a cool story. The next one is called attending to the little things. Little kindnesses and courtesies are really important. And small discourtesies and little unkindnesses can get big. They in the withdrawal sense of the word. So, the little things are the big things, he says. So, remembering those little courtesies, the little kindnesses that maybe is just a minute's worth of thought for you, and then you totally forget about it, that can have a big impact on somebody else. Keeping a commitment or a promise, and that's a major deposit. He says there's probably not a more massive withdrawal than to make a promise that's important to someone and then not come through. And I can certainly understand that. The next deposit is clarifying objections. Clarifying expectations. Making sure that the people that you're dealing with, be it your boss or your kids or your spouse, that you're both on the same page, that they understand your expectations of them and that you understand their expectations of you. And then obviously, if there's some sort of disconnect there, work for adjusting those in a positive manner. He says the cause of almost all relationship difficulties is rooted in conflicting or ambiguous expectations around roles and goals. And then the next one is called showing personal integrity. This kind of gets us back to the first 3 habits there. Having that integrity generates trust and is really the basis of a lot of these different kinds of deposits, whereas lack of integrity will undermine an account. And this goes beyond honesty. Honesty is important. He says that honesty is conforming our words to reality, but integrity is conforming reality to our words, and that's what we need to get to. That's kind of like level 1 is honesty, level 2 is integrity, and you got to get there. One of the ways he says to manifest integrity is to be loyal to those who are not present. So if you're talking with person A about person B who's not in the room, don't talk bad about person B, because then when you leave the room and maybe go talk to person B, person A is going to assume that's how you talk about them. So he was saying that's really a great way to if you don't do that, if you act like person B's in the room, so you wouldn't say anything that you wouldn't you wouldn't say directly to their face, and that's going to go a long way to building integrity. And then I think this is the last one. Apologize sincerely when you make a withdrawal. You gotta do it, but it's got to be sincere. And he says people with little internal security can do it because it makes you feel vulnerable. So that's a really important one. Yeah, I think that was probably about all I wanted to talk about in this little bit. He does mention that production problems are production capacity opportunities. So if something is you're not getting production in your life, I'm not talking on the shop floor, then that might mean that if your relationship with somebody is not what you want it to be, then maybe you need to look at your production control. Maybe there's like some deposits you need to be making that you're not making. And if you can fix the production control issue and increase what you're doing there, then maybe the actual production issue will take care of itself. I said production control. I meant production capacity. Sorry. And I think that's it. Next time we talk about Covey, we'll be in habit number 4. Think win-win. But that's not going to be probably till I read it. Not to put too fine a point on it, but that's got to be soon. So that's what's due this week, is I got to read that chapter. So that's all I've got for today. I will be back again tomorrow, most likely in the car, and I'll be talking to you then. So be seeing you.